Married at First Sight and After Party, season 18, episode 5. Ciao, we are only on day 4 of these marriages, and we already have two brides who appeared to be attracted to their husband at first, then quickly fell out of attraction once their husbands opened their mouths and spoke. Also, I have a couple of spoilers. But don't worry, I'll give you this warning before I drop the tea. Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is Tamara Lynette Tells. So Keisha had another 1 hour after party. The first 30 minutes featured Alan, Karla, and David. The second segment featured Madison, Tom, and Emem. I've noticed Michelle has been MIA from After Party. I guess she's not trying to rehash the shenanigans of the season so far. Anyway, we catch up with the couples honeymooning in Cancun, Mexico, where there were on again, off again rainstorms. The weather was pretty bad. Michelle and David. I have to start the video off again with the Michelle and David show. They are by far the standout couple for all of the wrong reasons. It doesn't take an expert to know these two never should have been matched. You don't pair the guy who lives in his parents' basement, smokes, and works swing shift with the judgmental girl who shuts down and puts up walls. And to make things worse, David told Michelle he has a tattoo of his ex-fiance's name on his chest. Stop it, David. Shh, be quiet. You are not helping your situation. Do not tell Michelle anything else about your life, ever. She can't handle your truth. Now, during that same conversation, David asked Michelle if she found him attractive. David, I'm going to need you to read the room, sir. And if you can't read the room, listen to the words that are coming out of Michelle's mouth. She said she finds your lifestyle unattractive. That means she don't like your face either, boo-boo. Anyway, he asked her if she wanted to jump his bones. Not in those words, of course. After what seemed like a pause long enough to drive to a theater, stand in line for popcorn, watch a movie, then grab dinner and dessert, Michelle finally answered his question. She said, I'm struggling with attraction. Duh. Later, she talked to her sister on the phone and told her, I can feel myself slipping back into my old ways, putting up walls and being bratty. Are those really your old ways? Or have they just been in hibernation because you haven't been in a relationship since Jimmy Carter was president? Girl, ain't nothing changed about you. Meanwhile, David was doing the right thing. He went out and enjoyed Cancun by himself, working out, taking long walks on the beach, semi-flirting with Madison. So he and Madison had a little workout sesh together. He was like, I knew when I saw those collarbones and muscles that you were going to be my gym buddy. And what else? So David was telling Madison all his business. He was in a 12-year relationship and they were engaged at one point. Her name is tattooed on his chest. And mind you, at the time of this conversation, he hadn't told Michelle about his relationship or the tattoo. He also said Michelle hadn't asked him many questions about himself. So Madison advised him to be a little harder with Michelle. Like in instances where she shuts down and doesn't want to talk, push her to continue the conversation. Madison, you trying to sabotage this relationship? Going hard on Michelle is horrible advice. Michelle has a little temper on her and she has zero filter when it comes to David because she doesn't respect him. Pushing Michelle will only make her push David back to his basement where he'll be back to swiping yes or no on dating apps. Now, after he got back from the gym, he and Michelle had a weird argument about whether or not they were having a good time. It started with David walking around being positive and still asking if she wants to hang out. And Michelle accused him of being in a fantasy land. He said, I'm being my authentic self and I'm genuinely happy. I notice when we're out with the other couples, I see you laughing and having some fun. So that makes me feel good that you're having a good time. She was like, but this is not a good time for me, meaning she and David's situation. And I'm done here. Now, to the confessional cam, she said she's frustrated with their situation. She appeared to be pretty pissed off about him being happy and not showing frustration too. Misery sure does love it some company, don't it? But her anger is misplaced. She needs to be mad at the experts, who have been nowhere to be found, by the way, for putting her in this situation. David didn't do anything to her. Now later, David and the guys met up and Michelle met up with the ladies. Chi said he came into this with no expectations and ready to make it work with whoever was at the end of the aisle. Michelle shouldn't have expectations either. I wouldn't call not wanting someone who lives with their parents an expectation. That's more of a standard. So anyway, as a collective, the guys advised David to ask Michelle what she needs from him. Once again, that was bad advice. Michelle is over this man. What she needs is for him to go away and leave her alone. But unfortunately, David took their bad advice. He told Michelle he met up with the guys and has a few more questions. Oh, and we know she's going to love that, right? With an annoyed look on her face, she said, "Go for it." "Did you come into this with any expectations?" "Yes, I wanted someone who would match my lifestyle and teach me things." He asked if she thinks he can meet up to her lifestyle, and she said, "I think we have different goals and see life differently." Meaning he sees life through the windows of his parents' basement. Actually, I wonder if it has windows. Anyway, then she starts complaining about needing space. "I asked you for time, then you told me to text you when I'm ready. I didn't like that. Then you kept texting me to tell me where you were and asking if I wanted to hang out with you. How is that giving me space? I didn't need you to keep contacting me." She kept fussing and being a complete bastard. And David was asking, "So what am I supposed to do? Should I just straight out ask you? Okay, how's your relationship with your parents?" Why would you ask me that? Why would you want to know that? Because you're married to the man. Newsflash, David's doing what normal people do when they're trying to get to know each other. Michelle, you're the one who's being weird. By this point, David is showing signs of frustration because Michelle is being so rude and extra. It was clear he got the point Michelle was trying to make, but Miss Walls Up had to put the cherry on top and said, "Back off. I feel smothered." So he was trying to talk or defend himself, and she fussed, "Are you going to let me talk? You keep cutting me off. You talk at me. You don't talk to me. I feel like I need to tell you I need space for an entire day." Michelle has single-handedly turned this relationship into a toxic mess. I would have been done with this woman by day 2. So to the confessional camp, Michelle is once again frustrated because he's trying to help her get to a happy place, but nothing he seems to do is right in her eyes. Meanwhile, David walked off mad, but he came back and he apologized for walking off and said he needed some space. And she was very understanding and nodding her head like, "I can completely relate because I feel that way every time your cigarette smoking, girlfriend's name tattoo wearing, living in your parents' basement ass tries to talk to me." So to the confessional camp, she said, "I'm a little bit of a control freak, but I don't have control over the situation, so I want to leave. But I feel like I owe it to myself to try to stay." You need to do more than just stay, boo-boo. You need to try to stop being mean to your husband. Now, on Afterparty, Keisha asked David what the communication is like between he and Michelle when the cameras aren't rolling. He said they don't talk. She's in one room and he's in the other. That is not surprising, and I think she's doing him a favor by leaving him alone. Keisha said, "You should hide the toilet paper. That way she'll have to ask you where it is." She said she was kidding, but she came up with that little piece of advice way too quick. Okay, Keisha, we see you over there, Petty Patty. Now, when they went on a boat trip with the rest of the couples, David asked Michelle about her day. I guess that means they didn't hang out and she got the space she so rudely asked for. And Michelle said she spoke with her friends. And then he asked if they talked about the marriage. And she said, yes. He said, "What did they say?" "I'm trying to keep the day light." Light? Then why did you put 10 big ass paper clips on the side of your face? That's not light. Whoa, where did that come from? Sorry, this girl got my pressure up. Anyway, David walked away and went inside. So Michelle asked to speak to her producer. She told the producer, "I didn't expect it to go this way." The producer asked her if she can remember why she wanted to get married in the first place. And Michelle said, "I can't remember. I'm too shut down." This is pitiful. In her eyes, he might be too old to live with his parents. But in my eyes, she's too old to behave this way when she's not attracted to a man who is interested in her. I don't know what David is trying to salvage at this point. They have never even reached a place of equal respect. If they were co-workers, she wouldn't even want to have lunch with him. It doesn't look like she's even entertaining the idea of staying his wife. David, give the woman her space forever and go get you some more tacos and enjoy your vacation, honey. Karla and Juancho. Now, during breakfast, Karla jumped right into her questions. She asked, "What do you imagine our finances will look like?" He explained that he is an entrepreneur and has to pay a lot of money. So she's basically on her own and has to take care of her damn self. Okay, he didn't say it in those words, but that was my takeaway. He said, "I know you love to travel. You may have to go yourself sometimes because of my business financial obligations." By herself? Child, you just gave her a hall pass to go on vacation with her girlfriends. Girls' trips are the best. Don't threaten me with a good time. Karla said she wants to feel like he wants to take care of her. It's more like, I want to feel like the person wants to take care of me and this person wants to be with me, like a bigger picture. Now, based on what she told Wancho's dad and what her friends were asking Wancho, it sounds like she was hoping for him to say, "We're going to be balling out and you won't have to worry about ever working again, little lady." So on Afterparty, Keisha asked her a long-winded question about being pretty. Because Karla is a pretty girl, people may assume she wants to be taken care of, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Is this something you face all the time? Karla said she's not looking to be taken care of. "I have a good work ethic and I have worked since I was 16. Now, that's a big contradiction from her saying she wants to be a stay-at-home mom to focus on her kids and be their best friends. Maybe she's planning to move her hair salon in their garage while the kids play in the car. I don't know. So Wancho asks if it's going to be a big deal if I can't do certain things with you because I don't have the money to do it. No, I love your honesty. I love honesty too, but you got to pay attention to what the man is being honest about. Karla, are you really okay with having to do things by yourself because your husband can't afford it? People tend to spend money on things that are important to them. After a while, it might hurt your feelings. He's not willing to put his money towards things that are important to you. Later, they went on a canoe ride and somehow the boat capsized. Wancho was drenched from head to toe and Karla was dry as a Little Caesar's breadstick. On Afterparty, she says she was somehow able to jump off the boat. So I caught this frame from the video where it looks like she lifted herself onto the platform while Wancho tipped over into the water. Now, when it comes to sex, it sounds like they're on different pages. Karla told the confessional cam she's ready to do the parallel merengue, but Wancho said he wants to take things slow because he's rushed sex in the past and it didn't work out. So he wants to wait until he's in love to get physical. Wancho, you only have 8 weeks. Instead of waiting for being in love, you might want to lower your standard to being in UI. Now, when they were on the bus on the way to a group boat excursion, Karla stood up and said, "A penis is like a magic wand that gets inserted inside the temple. You have to be conscious when you ejaculate because you're sharing your magic and you're wasting it." Magic wand? I thought I came up with some unusual names for a man's dipstick. Sorry, Karla, but I'm totally stealing that one. Magic wand it is. On Afterparty, Karla said there was a lot of sex talk happening at that point, and she wanted to remind men that their magic wand is energy. So when they insert it into a woman, they are not only giving energy, but receiving energy. So be careful with who you give your energy to. I mean, she's not wrong. But regardless of the reason, you got to be careful about where you insert your magic wand. As for Karla and Wancho, I think they can have a lot of fun together, but that doesn't mean they should be married. I don't believe they're coming from the same place in terms of their views on life and how to live it. Camille and Tom, they went on a boat trip, and to the confessional cam, Camille said she feels like Tom is being respectful and allowing her to take the lead. However, she prefers for the man to take the lead, so she hopes he'll figure that out about her. Later, Tom told her he's been taking things slow, almost feeling like a kid who has a crush on someone. But his going slow may come across as lack of interest, so he's going to amp things up a bit. That was music to Camille's ears. To the confessional cam, she was saying she wouldn't mind it if Tom walked by and smacked her on the butt. You haven't even gotten a butt smack yet? Tom, you are on day 5, which is like day 63 in real life. It's past time to amp up the flirting. At least Camille wants you to flirt, unlike half the brides on this season so far. Anyway, Camille was curious about his family dynamic. He said he has a twin brother and 4 older siblings. When he was in his early 30s on social media, his mom posted, "Happy Twins Day. On this day, I adopted my twin sons." And that's how he found out he was adopted. Dang, mom, you couldn't call and tell him before you press post on TikTok? So Tom ended up going to his dad to confirm being adopted, and his dad said yes. So Tom was pretty devastated. His dad said he wanted to tell him earlier, but was afraid the boys wouldn't love him the same way. Now, on Afterparty, Tom clarified that when he was talking about his mother, he was referring to his dad's first wife. She was the one who made the social media post, which was even more confusing to me because I thought the woman he called mom who was at his wedding was his adoptive mom. Now, someone on Reddit explained it like this. Tom's dad and first wife adopted twin boys. That relationship ended and the mom bailed. The dad got remarried. The second wife, the stepmom, raised Tim and Tom as her own, but they always knew the first wife was their mom. Now, decades later, the first wife posted on social media about adopting twins. Tom saw her post, then asked his dad. Whew. When Tom says he has a complicated family, he ain't lying. Meanwhile, Camille and Tom continue to look like a good match so far. But then again, compared to the last 6 seasons, it doesn't take much to stand out as a decent couple. So there's that. Emem and Chi-Chi. So they took the time to fill each other in about their past a little bit. Chi-Chi said he bounced around between his mom and dad in Atlanta and Houston. But when he was 16, his dad kicked him out of the house. Now, he didn't give a clear answer as to why he got kicked out. He said they were too much alike and they butted heads. So one day when I was having a good day, but my dad was having a bad day and kicked me out. I think there's a lot more to that story, but that's all we got. So thanks to his dad, he was basically homeless at 16 years old. He ended up moving in with a friend. Then eventually his mom found out about his situation and had him move back in with her. Now, I have so many questions about this. Like, what was the conversation like when the dad was throwing him out of the house? Did his dad throw him out on the street, or did he drive Chi-Chi to somebody else's house? Did he get to pack a bag before he left, or did he have to leave with just the clothes on his back? Why didn't Chi-Chi call his mom right away? Maybe the dad took his cell phone away? Did he even have a cell phone to take away? What was the temperature like outside? I mean, I just have so many questions that weren't even addressed. Anyway, Chi-Chi got emotional when he talked about being an educator and trying to help kids get out of the hood. He was telling his story as a noble cause and was like, I don't know how anyone can hear this and not get emotional. Emem was watching and listening to him tell his story with eyes so dry, it looked like she needed some Visine. However, she did start crying when she said during her last conversation with her dad, they exchanged I love yous and it felt good. So this is interesting to me because Emem is so expressive. I never would have tagged her as someone who has difficulty showing emotions. So later, Emem met up with the women and Chi-Chi met up with the guys to talk about their wives, right? Afterwards, when he reconnected with Emem, he was telling her about the conversation he had with the guys, then said he told them that he and Emem are getting to know each other as homies. That did not go over well with Emem, and I'm so happy she called him out. She said, "You told him I was your homie? Oh, you could be my hops." Hops. I think that's what he said. I couldn't understand him. Emem said, "Are those my only 2 choices?" To the confessional camp, Emem was taken back by being called a homie. She said, "We are husband and wife." I don't blame her for not wanting to be called her husband's homie. That's the label a brother sometimes gives a woman when he's trying to convince his girl he's not cheating. Me and Sheila? No, that's my homie, my dog. She's like a sister to me. You tripping. Yeah, there's a saying, homie, lover, friend. But in a scenario like this, where you're trying to build a loving relationship in only 8 weeks, being called a homie can feel like being put in the friend zone. For someone who spent years writing love letters to his future wife, I'm thinking his mental thesaurus could have picked a better word to describe his wife by now. I still don't have a good feeling about this couple. Madison and Allen. Now, Madison asked Allen how he handles conflict, and he said, it depends on the situation, but I basically just try to get past it. She said, I don't know how to say this. I don't want to call you a pushover, but you seem to care too much about what other people think. He was like, so you think I'm a pushover? Yeah, I call you a caregiver. You need to do things that make yourself happy as well. On Afterparty, Keisha said it looks like Allen is very kind and a giver, but Madison is not used to being loved that way and maybe doesn't know how to receive it. Listen, let's not mix words. Allen is a nerd, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think Madison is looking at Allen as someone she can walk all over, and that's not what she wants. They ended up going paddle boating, and Madison asked him what he likes about himself, and he mentioned that he likes the man that he is, and he knows he can dress a little eccentric. Then she pointed out his crazy shorts with the St. Patty's Day glasses. She wasn't being rude when she said it, but it also wasn't a compliment. So her pointing out his glasses launched him into a long, rambling story about why the glasses are important to him. It was definitely one of those stories where there wasn't a payoff at the end and you walk away thinking, oh yeah, that's 12 minutes I'll never get back. By the way, I don't know why the camera was angled like this, but that is not a flattering angle for anyone. Anyway, he said he likes the style, but he doesn't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. He asked Madison if they were to walk down the street with her by his side, would she feel uncomfortable with him? I thought that was an odd question to ask unless someone has told him they felt uncomfortable in the past. Anyway, Madison said she would be a little uncomfortable, especially if she's wearing a nice dress. In other words, his outfits are a turnoff to her. Now, on Afterparty, Keisha addressed the story of him staring at Madison at that first night of the honeymoon. That was the story Karla told last episode on Afterparty. His response made no sense to me, or maybe I was half asleep. He said there were 3 women dancing right in front of him with their butts in his face. He didn't want to be disrespectful to his wife, so he moved. Either I was dozing off during this part, or maybe they edited it weird. Or maybe he was saying he was looking at Madison to see her reaction to the booties in his face. I don't know. It boils down to Allen being a nice guy, but Madison's just not interested, which is completely fine, except for the fact she married him. I believe Madison is going to stick it out a little longer to, at the very least, enjoy some of the free perks of being on the show. However, I get the impression that the more she gets to know Allen, the more she's going to push him into the friend zone. Okay, so now it's time for the spoiler alerts. If you don't want to know what the streets are saying about the future of some of the cast members, now is your time to fast forward to the end of the spoiler. Okay, so I have 2 pieces of tea for you. The first one, Lifetime spoiled in their description of the upcoming episode number 7. It says the newlyweds are back from paradise and waking up in their new homes with their new spouses, except one. Then it talks about them visiting each other's homes. And the last sentence says, not everyone is pleased with what they're discovering, and one bad home visit could ruin everything. Now, this sounds like David and Michelle do not move in together, but Michelle agrees to go check out his bachelor pad and got even more disgusted. Keep in mind, the name of this episode is Basement Blues. I'll let you do the math on that one. If this is true, I'm mad at David for continuing to try with a woman who's giving him absolutely nothing to work with. Okay, moving on to the second spoiler. This is from Maz Fan. Now, remember, this season of Married at First Sight was taped about a year ago. So whatever happened during the season is all part of their not so distant past as of today. Well, rumor has it that not only has Emem moved on from being married to Chi-Chi, but she's engaged to a different man. And she was wearing the other man's engagement ring during this episode of Afterparty. Look at the comparison I put together between the diamond band she wore on her wedding day versus the rock she had on her finger when she taped Afterparty, which is taped after the season ends. Emem seems like good people. I hope this man adores her. I know I've said this a million times, but the experts really need to be involved in these marriages from day 2, like after the weddings. I don't know if it would have stopped Michelle from being so mean, but I think they could have intervened and possibly stopped her from being so toxic. David and Michelle and Allen and Madison, I have zero hope for their marriages. I'm interested to see how their honeymoons play out. In the meantime, that's all I have for now. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video.